Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Black Friday on DraftKings, and the NFL is an absolutely new thing. Amazon Prime has deals on everything, and they have a football game on, so we're going to give you a video on how to attack the DraftKings Showdown game between the Dolphins and the Jets. Jets are 9.5-point underdogs in this game. 41 points is the total. We have a brand new starting quarterback for the Jets. Zach Wilson has been benched. They've brought up Timmy Boyle to be the starter. This is gonna be a whole thing that's happening on this game. We're gonna break down all the viable captains. We're gonna build a pick'em card over on Underdog. It's going to be a spicy one. I'm going to try and identify a couple of underplayed players that you should be targeting for your lineups, and we're going to look at how to build 150 lineups using the lineup builder over at Fantasy Lab. So I hope that you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I hope that the food was good. I hope that the arguments were minimal. I hope you had a great time. Lots to be thankful for this year, just like always. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 12 Smiz Gang Listener League is posted. It's $10 to enter. It is 3 max. It is the same as it always is. $4,000 and absolutely no rake. The best tournament that exists on DraftKings. You cannot find this game in the lobby. If you wanted to find the game and enter it, you can only enter it 3 times. You got to go to smizzle.tv/links. That link is down below in the pinned comment. So if anybody asks you, how do I find the Listener League? It's the same as always. Go to the link tree, smizzle.tv/links. You'll find the link for everything that I do there. And make sure you get your 3 entries so we fill this and they don't make it smaller moving forward for the rest of the season. Let's go take a look at the slate. Here we have less captains than normal for me on this one. I think that there's a few. Obviously, there's a couple of things that we have to pay attention to. One, Zach Wilson, he's not that guy. He's done. He's absolutely cooked. Awful. And it's not like they've put him in a position to succeed. We could have that whole separate discussion of how the Jets are running their offense after Aaron Rodgers went down in week 1 and what they're doing and how it's being run and how vanilla it is and all those other things, but it doesn't matter. He hasn't executed either. So they're 9.5-point dogs. Tyreek Hill is going to probably catch a whole lot of Sauce Gardner. The Jets do have multiple good cornerbacks. They are good against the pass. This is a fantastic defense. Tyreek Hill, though, gets moved around so much. We highlighted in a tweet earlier this year. I forget who put the original tweet. I think that it was Scott Barrett. I could be wrong. That Tyreek Hill, when not moved, when not put in motion, is still one of the top 5 or 6 receivers in the league in terms of yards per route run. But when you move him, and they move him a lot, he's like twice as good as any other. There's a bunch of tier 2 guys, and the tier 2 guys are all alphas who, when set in motion, get a really solid boost from a yards per route run perspective. But Tyreek Hill is in a class of his own, like doubling up everyone else in the league. So that takes away the opportunity for a defense to jam him, for a defense to lock him down, to get him in a position where they're forcing coverage mismatches, where they're forcing mistakes, not just for Tyreek Hill, but for other players on the field. But his usage has been absolutely through the roof. 11 targets, 10, 13, 15 against Philadelphia, Carolina 10, the Giants, Buffalo 5 only. The one game where he didn't have a lot, right? But like double digits in every game except 3. They do such a great job of, for somebody with such a high ADOT that he can have, converting those targets into catches. Usually the larger a player's ADOT, average depth of target, the less likely they are to convert those targets to catches. He's not like a 30-yard down the field guy all the time. They are using him closer to the line of scrimmage, which does translate to more conversion on catch rate. But like, he still has that deep threat to be able to get behind a team. But they move him around so much that I know that Sauce Gardner is going to have an effect, but I don't think that he's going to have a massive effect. Do what you can to not double weight this. The matchup is always factored into whatever projection set that you're using. So for you to look at his projection and say, well, I'm going to dock him because Sauce Gardner's on the other side, that's already been in there. You're double weighting it at that point. Try not to do that. If we're going to use Tyreek Hill at the captain spot, we are going to use Tua Tagovailoa as well in those lineups in the flex. It's going to be pricey, $5,100 for the rest of those guys if you're going to go that route. The other wide receiver that could benefit but has been up and down this year has been Jalen Waddle. We haven't seen consistency of targets, let's say, for Jalen Waddle. It's basically been the Tyreek Hill show all year long. Waddle has battled injuries. He still maintains a massive ceiling because of his downfield ability, because of his ability to take a 6-yard slant 60 yards to the house. They still will find creative ways to get him the ball. And you do have that possibility in terms of ceiling that if they are doing a good job in coverage on him, that Tua will have to find a different route, and it could be a Waddle game, making him one of the viable captains on this slate as well, on top of Tyreek Hill. The other captain that's not the quarterback, we'll get to the QB in a second, would be Raheem Mostert. 22 opportunities in the last game in week 11, which was supposed to be the return of Devon Achane, but it was not because he got hurt like as soon as he stepped. It's the Grandpa Simpson thing. I think the footballers did a live action version of that where he walks in, he takes the knee brace off, puts it on the shelf, does a circle, puts the knee brace back on, and walks out the door. Essentially leading to a whole lot more volume for Mostert. Brother Raheem had a great game. Salvin Ahmed ran a touchdown as well behind him. So yeah, he's going to get a whole lot more volume if Achane is still out in this game. That I'm assuming, I'm doing this video under the assumption that he's out. Ahmed is going to be out, which opens up somebody that we'll talk about a little bit later. Achane has been limited in practice basically all week. We'll know before lineups lock whether he's a go or whether he's not. If he is a go, if I don't think it's going to be full usage for him, and full usage for him being defined as 10 to 15 opportunities. I think we could see a sprinkle of him to try and get him back in, but they're going to be very careful because they know that they need to be at full strength for January and hopefully for them February games. So rushing him back into a short week game following an injury, following a return from injury, is probably not going to be the way that they go. I think they're going to lean more on JWJ, but mostly on Mostert. Tua Tagovailoa is a solid captain in and of his own right, in the hopes that he doesn't put it in the hands of one receiver like he's done. So like every game this year, anytime he's had a good enough game, somebody else has been the optimal captain from a showdown perspective. This offense does not circulate around him. He does not really give you much with his legs. He is a pocket passer, pretty much. He's not a statue, right? He can move a little bit, but he's not going to be somebody who runs a lot. And even the games where he does pile up rushing attempts, 8 yards on 6, 5 yards on 5, 3 yards on 4. It's mostly just situations where he's running to escape pressure and is not creating yards on the ground. So all of his yardage and all of his touchdowns are coming through the air from the pocket, which is flowing mostly through Tyreek Hill. And if it's not flowing through Tyreek Hill, it's going to Jalen Waddle. He's not utilizing 5, 6, 7, 10 receivers like Washington or Kansas City, which means that if he has a big game, 26 points, 31 points, there's somebody else who's going to be the optimal captain. But if you think that he's going to end up in that optimal captain role, I'd probably limit him to 3 or 5% myself. I think that he's going to be overweighted in captain. The field's going to have more than he will show up in optimals as the captain. In my opinion, you're going to want to build that group where you're going to have 2 of his pass catchers. That's going to include basically everybody on Miami. I'm not going to include the running backs in this one because while they do utilize the running backs and they do have big playability, they don't get over 15% of the target market share. So I don't need to tie them to Tua, but I'm not going to exclude them from that, from showing up in lineups. The kicker does do better, does correlate well with his quarterback more so than people give it credit for. They have activated Robbie Chosen. We're going to use Cedric Wilson in that spot. If you want Craycraft, Barrios, all those guys in that group, I'm totally fine with that to give you a little bit of salary relief. On the Jets, I think there's 2 captains. Like I said, shorter captain list this week. There's one who's Garrett Wilson, and he's been awesome except for that last game against Buffalo. 14 targets, 13 targets, 13, 12. He's just been a target monster. 14 back in week 4. They have to force the ball to him. He has big playability. There hasn't been great quarterback play, and this offense can't score touchdowns with only 2 for him on the season. If you think that the quarterback change is going to change the efficiency of this offense, they can stay on the field a little bit longer. They can hopefully score more touchdowns. I would understand that, but unfortunately, from a Vegas point of view, the Jets have like a team total of 16.5. Like, they're not expecting a whole lot from this team. If you're going to use Wilson in the captain spot, if you think that Wilson is going to be the guy who's going to end up as the optimal captain on the slate with all the guys from Miami, like Miami just spreads it around. They score like a defensive touchdown maybe. Nobody has more than like 18 fantasy points, and Wilson has 24, which times 1.5 is going to give him a lot of points on that day. Then clearly you're going to want to tie old Timmy B, because if he has that sort of day with 150 receiving yards and a touchdown or two, then Boyle is going to get dragged along at his low price of $6K. And the only other captain on the Jets is Breece Hall. Should get a tremendous amount of volume. It does correlate with the quarterback a little bit with his target market share that he gets on this Jets team. He does have big playability. The Dolphins have given up big plays against them this year, both on the ground and in the air, on a per play basis, on a per game basis. So Breece Hall, the only other captain that I would probably be willing to play from this Jets team. Let's head over to Underdog Fantasy. And if you don't have an account over at Underdog Fantasy, why not? You can get up to a $500 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site when you use code ALSMIZZLE. That's all one word, ALSMIZZLE. Go check it out. They have these great pick'ems that you can fill out like a little parlay card. Best ball drafts, football, basketball, college, hockey, everything. Wherever you get in where you fit in, and you're doing drafting instead of salary cap. So the edge is a little bit lessened. You have to have a different strategy than you would on DraftKings to play this. I'm going to go super spicy because I like spicy. I got Breece Hall scoring one sort of touchdown, rushing or receiving. Fantastic. Jalen Waddle, same thing. We're going to multiply that by 1.5 and 1.25, play it for $100 to win $562. So instead of getting the standard payout, we're going to have a 1.87 modifier on this one. So let's get a little bit spicy. We'll click submit. I hope that you guys have a whole lot of luck on Underdog with these picks, and make sure that you take care of that first time deposit bonus on the site. Going back to the game, we're going to try and build through a couple of cheaper plays. We have a couple that we want to look at, coming all the way down here to Xavier Gipson, who has not posted gaudy numbers, 2 targets, 3 targets, 2 targets. He's only 800. Every single point matters when it comes to Showdown. 5.2 DraftKings points, 3.4 DraftKings points. He has played over 45 snaps the last 3 games. So it's impossible to score points when you're holding your helmet on the sideline. I'd rather have a guy who's on the field and running routes. There's opportunity there. We don't know the relationship, the confidence that Boyle has in all of his receivers. Maybe he has a little bit more of a relationship and trust on breaks and everything else and routes with Gipson because of how they've worked together with the backups throughout the year up to the last couple of weeks. So it's very possible he could get 2, 3, or 4 targets in this game at only 800 in a game that they project to be in a passing game script. Should play from behind based on the 9.5 point spread. Makes for a very viable salary relief point. 2 others, both of them on Miami. Jeff Wilson Jr. with Ahmed out with, I think, the slow manner with which they should bring back Devon Achane. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. could get 5 to 10 opportunities in this game at 1,800 against the Jets D that if they are down a whole lot, we could see them kind of quit on that game. It's not, I don't think players will ever want to put bad tape out there, but it's easy to see teams getting frustrated. And looking for secondary targets in this game, Cedric Wilson, 9 targets in the last 2 games. He's only, I think that's at the captain spot. He's only 1,600. No, he's 2,600. 2,600 at the flex, yeah. I like this spot for him based on recent volume, routes run, and the fact that I believe he's going to be under 25% on this slate. I'm always looking to take advantage of some lesser played players so that when we do end up finishing in first place on those days that we do have a good day, we want to share, because Showdown is a sharing game. We want to share with as few people as possible, so getting different is important. Let's go over to Fantasy Labs, and if you don't have an account over at Fantasy Labs and want a discounted subscription, go to smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L. You get access with the 6-month all sports package to their NFL, college football, NBA, golf, NHL projections, and everything else for all the sports that they have, as well as their great lineup builder. Here's all the rules that we talked about. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 2 of the pass catchers and kicker on that team. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 1 of the skill position players on the other side. Wide receiver or tight end at captain, make sure their quarterback's in that lineup, and limit to at most 1 defense or kicker from the same game. If you want to expand this to 2, you just go here, you make it 2, boom. I don't want to have 3, 4 kickers or defense in the same lineup, so I tend to limit to 1. I also sort by ceiling most often. You can do whatever you want to get whatever exposure you want in your lineup with all those players. You can build a whole bunch of other rules. The easiest one that I start with is at least 1 player that's a running back or wide receiver where projection ownership is less than 25%. I'm going to force those low-owned players into lineups. We'll click generate. And understand that you're not going to go over to Fantasy Labs and just click generate one time without putting in any work on your allocations, your combinations, and your correlation on those lineups. You're going to have to spend some time. It's just a great time saver, and you can do it across multiple sports with the great tools that they have. So go check out the people who support the stream. Go check out Fantasy Labs and Underdog, and I hope that you have a whole lot of good luck on Black Friday. Find those deals. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.